But let's get into the Eagles. Now, all right, we're going to do this a little different. We're going to start off with some Eagles players. I'm going to get some peanut gallery here. You guys name a player that you think I might be high on. And I mean, name a player I am high on. And let's talk about him.
Miles Sanders.
Yeah. Oh God.
That's perfect because that's what I had prepared. I knew it was coming. So let's talk about something.
This was scripted, by the way.
It actually wasn't, but it's phenomenal that you went Miles Sanders first. I didn't have much on anyone else because I already know what I'm going to say about them.
Let's talk about Carson Strong, man.
Oh, we can talk about Carson Strong. We'll get into Carson Strong. Don't you?
I'm sure we will.
Don't get me wrong. We haven't even got into the depth chart yet. I just want to start this off with one absolute that is happening this year. Miles Sanders will be a top 10 running back. And yes, you heard me correctly, Billy. I can't see your face right now because I got another screen pulled up, but top 10 running backs. So the Eagles absolutely refused to run the ball the first half of the season. And this year it should be a much more balanced attack after they kind of figured out what they're going to do after letting Hurts just run around like a crazy person and then just running the ball. There's going to be a nice balance here. Sanders opened up the year with 9 rushing attempts per game. And after his injury in week 7, the Eagles just decided to have a rush-heavy attack while he was injured, which was great. After he came back, he averaged 17 carries per game until the end of the season. Miles Sanders is in his contract year. Joe loves the contract years. He's been averaging 5.1 yards per carry. I'm going to hammer this home. 5.1 yards per carry. So if he gets anywhere near 17 carries per game, let's give him about what? I don't know, 1,250. So that's a lot of yards. Yes, he didn't have touchdowns last year. It was awkward. We're all aware of that. Jordan Howard's gone. They're not going to let Hurts run the ball as much. Hurts literally, the season of the Eagles is literally dependent on Hurts' health. So yes, he will have runs, but they're not going to be diving him into the end zone. They're not going to be running him around on a bunch of bootlegs where he can go run for 40 yards and get injured. So my prediction for Miles Sanders right now is 1,250 yards, 8 touchdowns, and another 300 yards in the air, which that would put him a right about running back 9 of last season. I do think that Gainwell is due for a bigger year this year. I think Boston Scott, they would have signed him a lot earlier if they were going to utilize Boston Scott how they have in the past. And Howard, Hurts, and Boston Scott have all poached all the touchdowns. So I think Howard's gone. Hurts is half gone because they're not going to use him as much in the red zone. I mean, they're still going to use him, but they're not going to use him as much in designed runs. And then Boston Scott, I don't think they're going to pull Sanders and Gainwell and put Boston Scott in there. So if there is one person you want to grab that isn't Miles Sanders and say you don't believe a word that I'm saying, go draft yourself some Kenneth Gainwell because that man is in for a big year as well.
Fireball bet, Miles Sanders not a top 10 running back?
Done. I'll take that one with pride because I get that it's a homer. I get that it's a homer move, but Miles Sanders has had the chance. He just never had the chance, if that makes any sense. He literally has done it and proved that he's a consistent running back. Yes, he's had a couple injuries. Everyone gets injured. I hate the term injury prone to people who play NFL football because anyone could get injured on any play. A big man can land on you. 300-pound man falling on your ankle, that's going to break your ankle. So just saying, Miles Sanders has one of the best case scenarios. And if the Eagles don't want to sign him, you know what they're going to do? Run him into the ground. So
do love the running backs in the contract here. It's always fun. So where you feel comfortable drafting Miles Sanders because he is going way late right now.
His ADP is phenomenal right now. Get him as your running back 3. Do not reach for him. You don't need to. I don't think anyone's going to be like, oh, Miles Sanders, blah, blah, blah. I think the one good thing about this is the Eagles have such depth on their team and so many offensive talent around them that like people are going to draft AJ Brown before him. People are going to draft Davonte Smith before him. People are going to grab Jalen Hurts before him. So nobody's even thinking about Miles Sanders. Everybody saw the 0 touchdowns right now. It's the perfect example of recency bias that you'll ever see because there's no way Miles Sanders gets 0 touchdowns this year. And if he does, I'll take 3 fireball bets. And unless he gets injured week 1 and like something like that, I'm not gonna
Unlike your reaction to everything I say, I 100% agree with you on this one. Miles Sanders is a phenomenal value. I don't know if he cracks top 10, but I would say 15 is a safe bet for him, and you are getting him at RB26 right now. It's a huge steal. Be very aware of where he is at on your draft boards, people.
I just think that you're in your 5th round as your 3rd running back. You can do worse. We had a conversation about this the other day. Kareem Hunt, Damian Harris. There's a lot of running backs around him that are just not what I would want. I would want that guy who can go and get me 5 yards per carry and can, if given the opportunity with 17 carries a game, can go out there and get me 100 yards and hopefully a touchdown. I will put that in there. All right.
So you don't think Kennedy Brooks is stealing his job this year?
You know who Kennedy Brooks is, man. I haven't even gotten to that yet.
Oklahoma legend Kennedy Brooks. Let's just calm down.
My apologies. We draft running backs every year, and I was too blinded by the A.J. Brown trade to pay attention to the next 3 days. So took a lot of fireball shots that day. All right. Anyway, Billy, you have anything to add to this Miles Sanders mumbo jumbo?
I don't. I mean, I think he's going to be like RB20 to 21, which is still an RB2. So I think if you end up with him on your team, you're not going to be mad about it, but you're probably not. It's not going to win you a league. It's just going to be a piece of the puzzle.
I really was not expecting that. I appreciate you humoring me here. But anyway, let's get into some depth chart here. Eagles went 9-8 last year, and a lot of people had them after their 4-11 in one season right there again. They were wrong. This year, everybody's kind of like, okay, yeah. So notable additions here. We got Haason Reddick they picked up in the offseason. Great depth piece for the defensive line. A.J. Brown, obviously we know about that trade, which is just phenomenal. And then Jordan Davis, Nakobe Dean, Cam Jurgens, all in the draft. And then they picked up after the draft, well, I think Kyzir White might have came before that, but Kyzir White and James Bradbury. So they got a second running mate with Darius Slay, which is going to be great. I think this defense, if you're in a defensive special teams, you shouldn't be number 1. But if you are, go draft this defense, because this defense could have some pretty good offense or pretty good points put up here. So into the offense, Jalen Hurts is about QB6 right now. Big fan of this. I think that this is the good spot where you're getting him after those first 3 quarterbacks. I'm really glad that he's not up higher. This is a prove it year for Jalen Hurts too, because they basically doubled down and got another 1st round pick for next year in case it doesn't work out. So running backs, I'm just going to leave that be, but Miles Sanders, 27, Kenneth Gainwell, 49, Boston Scott, 60. So, like I said, Gainwell, I think, is your guy here if you're going to get someone you don't believe in Miles Sanders. But honestly, both of those values are ridiculous. And then wide receivers, A.J. Brown at wide receiver 10. He's kind of going in that mid-second round, which I'm probably not going to end up with him in any leagues, unfortunately. I tend to, if I'm going to go wide receiver, I'm getting him in the 1st round. And then I try to grab a snake of Nick Chubb or something in the 2nd. And then DeVonta Smith is actually a real value here, what you're going to get. I think he has a big year growing up here. With A.J. Brown on the other side, him and Brown are just going to run all over the place. And then Jalen Raegor, just ignore him. Somehow he's above Quez Watkins at 103 and Quez Watkins at 107. If you want any other wide receiver, it's Quez Watkins. And then honestly, I love me some Dallas Goedert, but I think that I'm not super stoked because of all the other weapons here. So just looked up and saw Mickey Blanco over there with Joe, and I just love it. But yeah, no, Dallas Goedert, I do love it. This will be his first full year without Zach Ertz, so I'm looking forward to seeing it. I think tight end 7's about right, which is about where he's going right now. I think if you're waiting till later, he actually went pretty late in a dynasty draft we're in, so I like Dallas Goedert, but if you have other pieces of the Eagles, I think there's other ones that I would rather have. But if you didn't grab a piece of the Eagles and you want to feel included on the team this year, feel free to grab some. So, gentlemen, what do you guys think about this offense?
Okay, so here is what I've been thinking about while you've been talking, and I think they might have the 3rd best wide receiver duo in the NFL, maybe 4th. So I've got Diggs and Davis. These are not any order, just Diggs and Davis would be one of them. Waddle Hill would be another one, and Higgins Chase. And then after those 3, I think it might be Smith and A.J. Brown. I'm kind of putting you all on the spot to think about another one, but just looking over the teams, maybe I guess you could go Godwin and Evans probably too. So maybe they're 5th. But I think if you're going to give it, like, this is the absolute best thing you could do for a quarterback, what the Eagles did, is give him 2 receivers of this caliber and just let him rock. And if he can't do it, you know what you got. Like you can't get much better than getting a top 5 duo of wide receivers in the NFL for a quarterback in a prove it year. Like if you can't prove it with this, that is the perfect way to tell if they're bad or not. I wish more teams would do something like this, especially when the quarterback's in a prove it year, because Jalen Hurts has no reason to fail this year. 0.
No, he really doesn't. And honestly, even if somehow he does get injured, Gardner Minshew could actually have a prove it year if they do hold on to him. There was some rumblings of him wanting to be a starter and whatnot, and there's some pretty bad quarterbacks out there this year starting on rosters. So if there is some backups there, and
Foles 2.0.
If that's what happens, if Hurts is like running for MVP week 14 and gets injured and Minshew comes in, I've seen it before. I've seen that episode before. I'll watch it.
I've seen that too. Now, I am excited for this team. This might be the best offense since the Vic days right here. And I'm very excited to see it on the field. AJ Brown just unlocks everything that offense can do. Give it to it short, easy yard after the catch monster. He just absolutely unlocks this team. I think he's actually pretty underrated right now for where he is going in drafts as well. So I love what I see out of AJ Brown, and the schedule is just magical for you guys.
Oh, it's so silly. Like if they don't win the division, I'll be angry. Like physically, this actually sets me up for a lot different. Last year it was I want to show everyone that this team isn't as bad as they are. Like, every time I'm repping my Eagles jersey, I'm like, they're not that bad, guys, I promise. This year it's like, God, I hope they do good. Like they got to, right? Like the team is there, like the pieces are there. And I do agree with Billy. Like the fact that they literally brought in AJ Brown instead of drafting another rookie and maybe missing again. Like they're just like, and we got him for basically nothing. Like that was a silly trade.
Got him for Treylon Burks, which who knows if that's even going to work out. You know what AJ Brown is.
And a second round pick 2 years from now. Sure. Okay.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, Josh, me and you have a bet in for Nick Sirianni to win Coach of the Year. We've given you all
that one.
Yeah, we did. It pays. It was 20-1 when we put that in.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I thought I bet against you or something.
Oh, no. Me and you both have a bet in for Nick Sirianni to win the Coach of the Year already. Like, it's just can't see how this fails. But I mean,
the only guy that confuses me here is DeVonta Smith. I want to know what you guys actually think is realistic for him this year in this offense.
So what did he get? 800 yards last year? I'm pulling him up right now. 900 yards, 5 touchdowns last year as literally the sole receiver on the team, basically. I think realistically he can get in the 1,000 mark. I don't know what the touchdowns are going to look like. The touchdown disbursement is probably the one thing I don't know, because this is the most weapons we've had in a long time since the Mike Vick, Deshaun Jackson, Macklin days. So, but it does give me shades of that. Like it gives me like the McCoy, Macklin, Deshaun Jackson, and Vick. Like you got the 4 of them and you don't know what's going to happen. Like I just want a piece of this team. I don't care what it is. I think DeVonta Smith is the most realistic piece to be able to grab.
He's going to wide receiver 33 right now.
I think he'll probably get boosted up as the season gets closer, but a lot of people think he's small. And I mean, he proved it last year as a rookie on a team that had no wide receivers that he can go out there and get 900 yards. And they weren't short passes. I mean, he only had 64 catches. So, I mean,
he doesn't have to be the one. And I think that is important for him, is that like he can live in the AJ Brown shadow for a couple of years before he really needs to actually break out and be, a potential one. And I think this will just be good for his development. And yeah, I agree. This could be easily a 1,000-yard season. AJ Brown being there lifts the rest of the team up because he is just there. And the stats are going to come a little bit more easily than they did last year, because when Jalen Hurts is scouring the field and running around and has, Geodert, AJ Brown, DeVonta Smith, potentially Quez Watkins, Miles Sanders, hopefully out of the backfield, Kenneth Gainwell out of the backfield, maybe. Like, as long as he's got all of these array of weapons, there's no way that they all can't get a little bit of a boost.
Yeah, I think they're all fantasy relevant too.
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to point out DeVonta Smith, because right now he's going with Juju, Thielen, Gabriel Davis, Renfro, Lockett, Hopkins, and Ayuk. And I think out of those guys, Gabriel Davis is the only one that I would
that's probably
put
about
over
right.
him.
Hopkins is out for 6 games. Like, guys, we got to come to terms with that a little bit. Not
It's
you
a
all.
name,
I'm talking
Billy,
about
it's a name.
whoever's drafting. Like, we need to come to terms. I know it's best.
You know Hopkins is going to go up in value by the time.
But if you're taking him that high, that means you've given up on a position that you shouldn't have given up on. But that's a whole different discussion for a different pod.
So I think the most accurate comparison for this team, I'm not going to say that. I mean, they are a top duo wide receiver core here, but I think the most accurate depiction of these in recent years is 2 years ago, DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett. I don't think DeVonta Smith is quite Tyler Lockett, obviously, because he's not as fast. I mean, he does have some speed, but I was just thinking, I'm thinking little big guy here.
He's just as talented as Lockett.
He could be Lockett for sure. That's a very
well. I was just saying because Lockett pretty much only caught deep balls. That's what I was trying to say.
Right,
I don't think that's DeVonta Smith. I think really what they're going to probably utilize him in is the slot.
What he was at Alabama.
That's true. I mean, he will hit some deep balls. I'm just saying that 900 yards on 60 catches is just phenomenal in a weird year, like a weird transition. We didn't know what Hurts was going to be year, and we decided to stop passing halfway through. They're like, honestly, he should have hit 1,000 yards as it was last year if they would have continued on where they were at in the first 7 games. So yeah. I'm just stoked all around.
How did you guys get this schedule?
Oh yeah, let's get to defense real quick and then we'll get to schedule. But yeah, it's stupid. I watched it and I looked at it. But anyway, let's get into defense. So honestly, the defense is really like you're getting good value here. I tried to find some IDP rankings for this, but it's just all awful. So I'm not even going to pretend to say where it's at. Haason Reddick, he's our biggest addition defensive line wise, but we also have Josh Sweat, Derrick Barnett, Javon Hargrave, Brandon Graham, Jordan Davis, Fletcher Cox. Yes, some of those are defensive tackles, but I'm excited to see what Jordan Davis can do. He's basically Fletcher Cox's replacement, but at the same time, they'll probably those three, them two, and Hargrave will be all flipping in and out. And then Reddick, Sweat, Barnett, and Graham. I don't really know why we brought Barnett back, but I like the depth. And this is probably Brandon Graham's last season. So Josh Sweat and Reddick are your 2 bread and butters there. But I do I like the idea, especially if you're in a defensive tackle league, grab yourself a Jordan Davis late, or maybe even a Fletcher Cox a little earlier. And then into the linebackers, that's where it gets real sweet. Grab any of them. So Nakobe Dean is a lot later, but he is a rookie, so he'll probably get propped up. That dude is fast. There's going to be a weird split here, but most likely Dean, Edwards, and Kyzir White will all be on the field. So grab yourself one of them. But they do have some young guys behind them. So I would say that those 3 will be the main guys. And then Darius Slay, he's a cornerback. Don't draft him. He'll probably have 5 interceptions, though, if you really want to plug and play at some point. And then we did get Jaquiski, Tartt, we have Anthony Harris and Marcus Epps. Actually, Darius Slay has been pumping up Marcus Epps, by the way, all day. Like, he thinks that Epps is going to be the next big safety there. I haven't quite seen it yet, but he's a valuable piece to keep an eye on there.
I do have, the most exciting guy here is Nakobe Dean. I think everyone is excited about him. The slip was
real.
No one saw that coming.
Unnecessary.
I guess the question for Josh and more so Billy, how do you see Nakobe Dean fitting into this defense? What role do you think he plays?
Well, first of all, I have Nakobe Dean, rookie of the year, defensive rookie of the year, bet already in for that. He calls defense. Like, that's what he does. So I don't know. I wish this was the year. I wish they would just put him in. Like, he's worthy and able to play the game right away. I don't know if they'll go that route right away, but he could definitely play it. He's used to commanding a pretty much NFL caliber defense anyway when he was at Georgia. And he is kind of small at 6 foot tall, but he is really good at getting the ball. He's really good at attacking and finding and putting himself into spots where he is going to be the most impactful on each play. So I think that's going to get him on the field sooner rather than later. And I think that could potentially boost him up in the defensive rookie conversation. I don't know if they're going to play him right away. So that is kind of does give me a little bit of pause.
I think from everything I've been seeing at camp, this is the one team I actually see camp news for. Everything's looking really good for Dean right now. So I could absolutely see him, I don't know if starting right away, but at least having a role right away. And then one injury to any of these guys. Like TJ Edwards and Kyzir White are both valid linebackers, but like, and they have Reddick as a linebacker as well, but he's really an edge rusher. So I think he'll be more rotating with a defensive
Well, they
line.
have it
So
a strong
anytime
side
he
linebacker, which is kind of defensive end. I don't know why.
Well,
they
that's the
have it
thing is,
listed
I
that
think
way.
at anytime he's rotating in to be an edge rusher or the defensive line, basically, that's when Dean comes in, I think. And I think any nickel packages, I think Dean will be out there. I think it'll be a weird swap because that's what the Eagles defense does anyway. They rotate people in and out, but I think Dean will earn his playing time early.
I think so.
I actually
He's coming
think
for TJ
Dean-
Edwards.
He is. I actually think Dean and White complement each other awesomely. White's always kind of roamed around, almost done mostly coverages throughout his career, and Dean likes being closer to the line of scrimmage and being more aggressive. I think that could be a hell of a 1-2 punch for you guys this year.
Yeah, I agree. And shout out my boy James Bradbury, a true cornerback that could be valuable in IDP. This man always gets tackles. It's not always interceptions. It's usually pass defenses and tackles. But James Bradbury is that guy. He is a viable solution for defensive backfields. Just saying.
That was actually my biggest concern with the Eagles was we didn't get a second cornerback, and then they got Bradbury for basically free, and I'm like, thank you. I think Slay's
great, but he's good.
Well, Slay's just going to keep recruiting a one-year cornerback to the team every year until they draft one, basically. I don't know what we're going to do when Slay leaves, but for now, let's just let it be.
Ride the wave. All right. Over-under for the Eagles is a shockingly low 9.5.
Over.
I'm taking the over.
I just no way this isn't over. I'm unbelievable, honestly. Let's hear the schedule, but I think we all let's just hear
Detroit, Minnesota, Commanders, Jaguars, Cardinals, Cowboys. You got Steelers, the Texans, the Commanders, the Colts, the Packers, the Titans, the Giants, the Bears, the Cowboys, the Saints, and the Giants.
11-win team, 12-win team.
Can they go undefeated?
They could.
Undefeated team, but you've skipped all of the bad, like the really good teams. You all could beat the Cowboys twice. Like, what are we talking about?
Honestly, we can't. You think we can't?
I know, because the NFC East beats each other up.
They just cannot be
good enough to do that.
Yeah, it really is. And honestly, one injury to the Cowboys is a lot different than one injury to the Eagles.
I mean, I'm seeing the Colts and the Cowboys is